Welcome back. In this series of videos, we're going to create a procedural brick shader. So here I have a basic Blender default scene. I'm going to take the cube and delete that. Then we're going to use Shift A to add a plane. Now I'm going to go into the top view using 7 and just zoom in on my object. I'll go to object mode and change this over to edit mode. And I'll use S to scale. We'll hit 2 and that will scale at 2 times size. But we want to hit X as well, and that way we get a rectangle shape. We'll hit return, and that is now saved. Now, because we did that in edit mode, we don't have to reset the scale by using Control A and going to scale. If we hit N to open up this side panel and go to item, you can see that our scale is set to 111, and our dimensions are 4 meters by 2 meters, and I think that's a good size for a brick wall. Let's hit N again. Now let's rotate this on the x-axis globally. Let's hit R, 90, X, and now we have that brick wall standing up. We'll hit 0 to go into our camera view. We'll hit N and go to view. We'll change camera to view, and we'll just rotate this around so we can see our brick wall a little bit clearer. So I just wanted to fill up most of the space, but I want a little edge there so that when we start using displacement, we can see how much it's coming out. So we'll click off camera to view. We will then go to shading. We'll change over to cycles. We'll turn off scene world. We'll turn down the world opacity. We'll hit new for our new shader. We'll call this brick. We'll go to material properties over here. And we'll scroll all the way down. Go to settings, and we're going to change this from displacement bump only to displacement only. And the reason we're using displacement only and not displacement and bump is we don't want the displacement to take into account any of our normal map information, because it will really slow down our previews and our renders, and it will also start eating up quite a lot of the memory on our graphics card and in our system RAM. So we'll change that to displacement only. I'll click this little arrow here, which is taking away my toolbar. We'll go into modifiers and we'll add our subdivision surface. We'll change this to simple. We'll click on adaptive subdivision. Let's just go to render, make sure we're in cycles, make sure we have experimental turned on, and GPU compute, and everything else should be set up. I will turn on viewport denoising just to speed things up and make sure this is set to optics. Now later on I might change this subdivision from 8 down to something lower, but I will choose my Dyson camera, which is the default camera in the scene. Finally, let's just rotate around a little bit. We have a light in the scene. I'm going to select that light, go to the light settings, change this to a sun, and I'm just going to rotate this, hit G to move it a little bit. And I'm going to rotate this in the x-axis. So with our sunlight set up, our camera set up, our plane set up, and our material set up, we basically have our base scene. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to save this base scene. And I'm going to save this as brickstart.blend, and this is going to be attached to this video. So if you want to use this as your starting file instead of doing all this setup, then feel free to do that. It's also worth keeping a copy of that scene handy, so if you make any mistakes along the way, or for some reason you find that certain values in X or Y aren't producing the same effects that I have, and you set up your own scene, it might be that you've just rotated your plane the wrong way, or you have issues with scaling or something like that, and you can always go back and copy out this plane and then apply your shader onto it, and it should work fine. Okay, so it's challenge time. Pretty simple challenge in this video. Just set up and save your own startup file. You can use your own lighting setup if you want, including using a different HDRI and Sunlamp. But try and stick to the same size and transform the plane in the same axes as shown. Otherwise, the values that I use in my own file might not work on yours. If in any doubt, you can always use the brick start file that I'll provide for you. So stop the video, have a go at that, and join me in the next video and we'll move on. I'll see you then.